I'm Janet Gollery McKeithen, and I am lucky to be the minister of the church in Ocean Park. And I want to welcome you to this amazing celebration of Theresa Bonpane, a courageous organizer who has had quite the life journey. We've all been lucky enough to have participated in a piece of that journey, but none of us have been a part of all of it. So we're going to hear various parts of it today. I'm honored to be a part of Theresa Bonpane's life and a part of this celebration. Welcome to the celebration of Theresa Bonpane. But you may be wondering if you're really welcome in this space, in this place, because it's called the church in Ocean Park, and then there's some guy with a light coming down into his face. So you might wonder, are you really welcome in this place? And I'm here to tell you, yes. Yes, yes, you are welcome in this space. We are multi-faith. So you're welcome if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Wiccan, Christian, Ifa, atheist. Anybody have anything else? Right, and something else altogether or some combination. Most people we've found out are actually a combination of all of the above or nothing. This is a unique multi-religious community focused on helping to create a more equitable and sustainable world. We seek to provide safety, support, and advocacy for those who are the most vulnerable. And as we all know, this is a time where that is very, very important. People's lives are at stake. We all have biases, and it takes intentionality to build compassion for people whose lives are different from ours. So at the church in Ocean Park, we intentionally cross boundaries and hear from people that we have never heard from before so that we'll understand other people's life experiences. We seek to work across boundaries to tear down unjust systems and build new communities of hope and of love, which is needed now more than ever. So you're welcome here. You're welcome if you're single, if you're married, divorced, widowed, gay, transgender, non-binary, queer. You're welcome if you have abundant resources and you're sharing them with people. You're welcome if you find each day a stressful time financially. We welcome people who are fidgety or very focused, or just got up or just got out of jail. We don't care if you're more religious than the Pope, or if you haven't been to your mosque since the pandemic and you're having trouble fasting during this season of Ramadan right now. We welcome soccer moms, tree huggers, latte sippers, vegans, junk food eaters. We welcome you if you're still in recovery or still addicted. We welcome you if you like organized religion or if you're completely repelled by it. We especially welcome you if you've been hurt by religion. We hope that you'll find this to be a place of healing and of hope. We welcome you if you're having trouble or soaring on the wings of eagles, or a little bit of both. We welcome you no matter your ability, where you were born, what papers you may or may not have to show to anybody. You don't have to prove anything here. You are welcome in this space. We want to begin by acknowledging that we are currently sitting on stolen land. This land was taken violently from the Chumash, the Quiche, and the Tongva peoples. We acknowledge the harms of genocide, forced assimilation, enslavement, and destruction at the hands of U.S. settler colonialism. We also take a moment to realize and acknowledge that this country and the communities was built on the backs of people stolen from Africa, placed into bondage, and forced into labor. We acknowledge that we benefit from that labor every single day, and that labor has never been repaid. In our acknowledgement, let us commit ourselves to healing by helping to create a more just and sustainable world, and struggling to change how we do things that we think are normal, but actually are systemically hurting people. So welcome to the church in Ocean Park. We are so glad that you're here. Let's get ready for a grand celebration of our friend, Theresa Bonpane. And I'm very pleased to welcome your wonderful Emcees for today, Mimi Kennedy and Blase Martin Bonpane.
Okay, Blase, we're on.
All right.
Housekeeping detail, restrooms, should you need them, are that away. There's one all the way down the stairs and one just right outside there. If you want to eat or drink something during the program quietly, that's why they're on the side tables there. And at the end, any of those pictures that you like, particularly of the Killeens family, they're like party favors. Just pick them up and take them, okay? First come, first serve. Blase is very kindly letting me take this moment to just do my short tribute to you, Theresa, which is this. Anyone who has read her book knows a story I have heard from her many times, which is when she was a little girl and she realized her mother was 40 years old. She thought, oh my God, that's so old. I have to be good for 40 years in order to get to heaven. She didn't think she could do it. Well, Theresa, you've made double 40 plus 10. And you've been good in ways that no one, including you, could have imagined at the time. And we've all benefited from it. Thank you. Blase said I'm the MC's MC. So now I present to you Blase Martin Bonpane to bring on the joyous and wonderful family to celebrate Theresa, their matriarch.
Yes. Thank you so much. Of course, she's my mom, so she's the most important person ever. But my favorite story about her is the way that she used to, and maybe she'll do it for you today at some point, is the way that she used to impersonate her mother. And her mother had a very distinct Irish brogue that only Mimi and my mom could do like her. But my mom, in high school, would sometimes decide that today wasn't a day to attend school. And she would call the school. She would call the headmaster of the school, and she would say in her mother's Irish brogue that Theresa could not be at school today. And so we're gonna get my mom to do that whole routine for you. But that is one of my favorite stories. But we're gonna have plenty of them. We got to start with Happy Birthday, and in order to sing it properly, we need to have some singers up here. My kids and my sister's kids are gonna help us sing. My mother's grandchildren are gonna come up now. And say something if you'd like. No? Okay. Anyone want to say something? Okay, all right. Blase Hydro is another grandchild. He couldn't be here today. He just recently started college, so we'll give him that excuse. Okay, that's all right, because we're all just gonna sing Happy Birthday, and we're gonna have, there you go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Theresa. Happy birthday to you. Thank you. Now, it's time for Linda. No, it's time for me. Sorry. It's time for me. More me. Good. Perfect. I just put together a bunch of little excerpts of a bunch of songs that are either about my mom or that my mom always loved or that my dad liked to sing to my mom. And if I make it through without breaking down in tears, I'll be surprised, and you'll be supportive of me, whether you like it or not. And it's difficult. My usual accompanist, Blase Dillingham, could not be here today. He's ill, but him and Susie are with us always, and they may even be with our group of people who are observing and participating by Zoom. There they are. And yeah, hi everybody. And if you would like to speak at some point later, we can do that. But instead of introducing every song, I'll just leave it to you to put together what the meaning is or where it came from. I think you will do fine. It ends with my statement, which was written by Elton John. And my statement to my mother today is how wonderful life is while you are in the world. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, yes, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine to show our love. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. All around this country, trouble in the air, and I hear the voices calling me, asking, do you know and do you care? Do you know and do you care? Well, I'm gonna do what I have to do, say what I have to say, and I'm gonna be what I have to be. Now won't you come on along with me? Won't you come along with me? You held my hand when it was cold, when I was lost. You took me home. You gave me hope when I was at the end, and held me up and gave me dignity. You even called me friend. Someday, when I'm awful low, when the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight. Lovely, don't you ever change. Keep that breathless charm. Won't you please arrange it? 'Cause I love you just the way you look tonight. When it seems each prophet that walked the world agreed, pick anyone that you please. They say invite difference, and surely we will veer from fear, fearing fear, fearing fear. If I was a sculptor, but then again, no, or a man who makes potions in a traveling show. Oh, I know it's not much, but it's the best I can do. My gift is my song, and this one's for you. And you can tell everybody this is your song. It may be quite simple, but now that it's done, I hope you don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down in words how wonderful life is. Well, you're in the world. There it was, I made it. How wonderful life is. Well, you're in the world. Isn't that true? Thank you so much. I will sing a little bit later with my darling cousin Danny Danahy, who's among the people who came all the way from the back east to be here today. And I just want to thank everybody that came from a long way, including myself, for coming today. But particularly those East Coasters. Okay, now it's Linda's time. Now that it's not me time with me. No, it's Colleen's turn. All right, wrong again. Hi, I've met you before.
I had to be ready. I knew he was going to try to get rid of me. Yes, like my brother said, thank you so much, especially to the people that came from very far away, including so many of my beloved cousins and their kids, and thank you guys. I had a little story I thought I'd share with you in case you hadn't heard it from when my mom was a nun in Chile, and back there, if the blood bank was basically the convent. And so if anybody needed blood, they went to the convent and grabbed a nun and got some blood. And so my mom, dutifully was giving blood. But finally, one day, one of the men from the town said, "Madre, you have to stop giving your blood." Because every time we give it to someone, they just start jumping off the table and they're going crazy and they're like a different person all of a sudden. And we just don't know. We think it's a bad idea. So you better just stop giving your blood. And yeah, they were a little unsure. But I think anybody that knows my mom would not be surprised by that story. She's got a lot of energy. She's an amazing and very unique and special woman that I love very, very much. And I also wanted to acknowledge her parents, that my brother kind of brought up her mother. Both of her parents were Irish immigrants, and though they didn't have much, they always were giving to anybody that needed it. There are stories of, coming out to the living room and finding people sort of strewn across the floor that were basically what we would say today homeless, that didn't have a place to stay, and though they had next to nothing, they had more than these people, so they were helping them out, and most of them were immigrants, and I think my mom has been shown them proud and continued that tradition of helping the immigrants and the least among us throughout her entire life, and been a great inspiration to so many people, including me. And the other thing that I need to tell you about my mom is that she has told us many times that we are not allowed to say anything at her memorial that we haven't told her in person while she was alive to hear it. So you've been warned. So say it now, and happy birthday, 90, you're amazing, and I love you, and thank you for everything. Thank you. And thank you again for everybody for coming today.
Thank you, Colleen. I used to call her Cayenne, actually. That was a little while ago.
Yes, sir?
You go.
Oh, okay, me go. Thank you. And Colleen, as I heard the story about giving blood, I thought, I wonder if a daughter who wasn't a doctor would have taken that story to heart. I loved that story. And those of you who know Blase may know the story that when you were a little boy and your dad would come in and sing to you, he once said to him, "Dad, don't try to sing better than you can do." But I gotta say,
better than you know how.
Then you know how. I'm glad you're here to correct. It's a great quote. Don't sing better than you know how. But I'm just saying that hearing your voice, a cappella, sing those songs, oh my God, you've grown up to sing as good as ever anybody knew how. He would have been so proud to hear that. Want to welcome our Zoom audience who's listening and watching us on Zoom. And just let you know, the Church in Ocean Park is recording the program, and it'll be on the Church in Ocean Park YouTube soon. So that's for everybody to know. Okay, I bring up Linda now?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. No, so.
No, the Killeens.
Oh, no, yep.
All righty, then.
Yeah, my bad.
Por favor.
Well, yes. Let's have to the stage Katie Somple and Mary Gavin and Danahy, and whoever you would like to bring with you. Yes, thank you. Special thanks to Katie. She was really instrumental in bringing all of the Killeens here and coordinating between East Coast and West Coast and Northern and Southern. So extra thanks to Katie. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katie Somple, and I am related to Theresa through my father, her brother, Jack. And I'm here also on behalf of my 4 siblings and all of their extras, our bloods and our non-bloods, as we call them. And I just wanted to sort of put some things into perspective about how we know Theresa Colleen Bonpane, which is Aunt Theresa. And when I was first asked to say a few words about her, I think I filled an entire trash can of crumpled up paper, and nothing was good enough. And I just kept thinking, how do you describe a person like Theresa? You can't do it. And so what I thought about was, Katie, just think of a word and just start with a word that is just indelible in my heart and how I really feel. And that word is legacy. And we have a legacy of love in our family, and we attribute it starting with Winifred and Martin, your parents. And you have continued that tradition, and you've modeled it for our family. So in 1967, when Theresa first came to California after not being a nun anymore, I don't know if there's a word for that, but she came to live with our dad, Jack, in Southern California. And we didn't know at the time, we were mostly little kids, but she tells us later that she came to live with my brother to have a nervous breakdown that she planned for. She just said she needed to have it, and she wanted a safe place to land, and so she landed with us in our 4-bedroom, 2-bath house with 5 of us kids, and my mom and dad and you. And so one of the stories from way back when that I want to share, which I think just describes something about what Colleen was saying about giving the blood. Well, my dad taught Theresa how to drive, and that was not an easy feat. And he taught my mom how to drive at the same time. Well, when Theresa came to be with us in California, she was so concerned about being employed. She wanted to just be, contributing to everything. So eventually she did learn how to drive, and I think it was the old Rambler that you were driving, I'm not sure, but, the Corvair. And so she got an interview in downtown Los Angeles. And so she, left the house. My mom had packed her a sack lunch, if I recall. She packed you a sack lunch, and you left our house in Torrance, and you drove to downtown LA. But she missed her exit that my dad had, written out for her. So I don't know what anyone else in this room would do if you miss an exit on the Harbor Freeway, but Theresa stopped, put the car in reverse, and went back to her exit. and I'm borrowing this story from my sister Alicia because she was older at that time, but she says, I will never forget Dad's face when Theresa told him what she did, and he says, I can't believe she's alive. I can't believe she's alive. So that was one of the big lore stories that we had. And then another one is when Theresa, I don't know, it was around 1978, 79, and two of your sisters from New York had come out, and we all went to our little casita in Ensenada, down in Baja. And we went to a local bar that was familiar to us, and we were just starting to have a really good time. And there was a band there, but most of the room, like here, it was us, our family. And Theresa just, I don't know, you just got in the mood, and you were feeling, I think, really sentimental about just, your whole experience with Latin America and just the Mexicans and being in that environment. And so Theresa sort of appointed herself the UN ambassador to Ensenada. And she got a hold of the microphone that the band was using, and she gave these beautiful, just speeches and wonderful, and she got everyone in the bar singing. Well, unbeknownst to us, Uncle Blase was there, but he was really in the background, and he wasn't really, was letting Theresa have her moment for sure. Well, apparently, because there were so many of us women, young girls, there were quite a few male customers in the bar. And one of them approached Uncle Blase and thought that he was our arranger. And was sort of, how much for this one and that one? Yeah, well, Blase escorted him out pretty quickly, and he was really sort of being in a real protective mode over us, and we just had a lovely time that night, and I'll just never forget how sincere you were about how strongly you felt about that moment, and that you felt, you were just in that space in your mind where you wanted to express your very strong feelings about Latin America and Latinos in general, and how, we're not all terrible Americans. And but anyway, we had a great time and quite a few margaritas that night. But anyway, the legacy, Aunt Theresa, what you have contributed to our family is indescribable. Really is. And we love you so much. We're so glad you're in our lives. Okay? Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, hello. My name is Mary Gavin, and like Katie, Theresa is my aunt. My mom was her sister, Anne.
Who was there that night?
Who was there, apparently, hopefully not being sold off for margaritas. But unlike Katie, I have a different relationship with Aunt Theresa, an entirely different experience, because I grew up on the East Coast. And so we didn't have Aunt Theresa living with us when she returned from her time in the convent or spending holidays with us. Aunt Theresa for us, or at least for me, my earliest memory, is being at my grandparents' house, and next to their telephone was a picture of Aunt Theresa. And I looked at the picture all the time that I was there because she was just, to me, so glamorous. Unusual word to describe a woman in a nun's habit, but just so glamorous. And and couple that with the fact that she lived in Los Angeles. It just made her this sort of mystical creature to me. And I used to tell my mom, when I grow up, I want to be just like Aunt Theresa. And so then as we grew, and the benefits of being able to travel and communicate and have phone calls and letters, we got to know Aunt Theresa better. And we learned that beauty, those sparkling Irish eyes and that demure smile, that has nothing to do with her glamour. The glamour comes from the beautiful conviction of spirit and the empathy that you have. And even from the other side of the country, we feel it. And so I still say, when I grow up, I want to be like Aunt Theresa. So happy birthday.
Nice jobs, you guys.
Yeah, good luck.
Yes, thanks.
Oh, I don't know. I think he's pretty hard to beat.
Well, I can tell you, my name's Dan Danahy, and I was just told, and I knew it anyway, that I was Aunt Theresa's favorite nephew. Sorry, guys. Now I can get my $20 back? No, first of all, I would like to thank our California family for allowing us to come here and celebrate a special day with one of our special people from back east. And Theresa, you've been special forever. There's 3 things I'm going to tell you at the end of this, and I want you to take that to heart. But I envisioned picturing right now as we sit, 2 chairs with Winifred and Martin, and right behind him, starting with Uncle Joe, Uncle Jamesy. Who was next? Tommy. No, my mom, Mary, Tommy, and Aunt Ann. If you guys knew this family, oh, that's right, and Uncle Jack, my very favorite, as he knows. And Uncle Jack, that family in general literally gave their lives to help others. The reason that we're here today is because we came out and visited and we felt welcome. So all you California family and friends, we thank you. All us New Yorkers, if you don't mind, just stand up for a second. Where's all our New York family? Yeah, Theresa, just so you know, honestly and truly, we traveled over 3,000 miles and we would have walked here for you. That's so true. You've inspired a lot of us. There's 3 things that I've always thought of yourself, and you have with everybody else in this room and every family member and every person you've ever met. Number 1 is respect. Each and every one of us respect you and what you've been through. That is so important to people. The second thing, I think, is probably like your whole family sitting right here. And I'd also mention those who have passed, starting with Uncle Blase. Very special individuals always there for us. So picture this picture, Winifred, Marty, Uncle Blase, your brothers and sisters all the way around, my sister Marietta, Theresa Russell, and those we have lost, let's put it that way. They respected you. We all respected you. We are so proud of what you've accomplished. And most and important is we love you. We love you to death. So somebody had mentioned to mention a song or sing our Danny Boy, which we'll do. But I thought of a song because I was just told this yesterday. So, right off the cuff. There was a song that was written in 1969. I manipulated the words a little bit, but I thought it fit you perfectly. And you all can help going along with this. And I know, Jim? Is it Jim? Yeah. Oh, okay. And now, your 90th birthday is here. And as you face your friends and family, my friends, she said it clear. She stated her case of what she's certain. She's lived a life that's full as she's traveled up and down the freeway. Oh, and more, much more than this, you did it your way. Regrets, you've had a few. I know I read the book, but then again, too few to mention. You always did what you had to do, and you saw it through without exemptions. And then you've planned each chartered course and each careful step along the byway. Whoa, and more, much more than this, you did it your way. Loved, and you've laughed and cried, and you've had your fill, your share of losing. And now as those tears subside, you find it all so amusing just to think that you did all that. And so you'd say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me. Theresa did it her way. For what is a woman? And what has she got? If not herself, then she has not to say and do the things that she truly feels. And not the words of one O'Neill's. The record shows you took the blows guess what? She did it her way. Aunt Theresa, we love you.
So great.
You're hired.
Oh, yeah. No wonder Theresa loves music so much and insists that we sing. She's been doing this with her family so long. Am I on the right page now, Blase?
Yes.
Okay, good. Linda O'Brien, and thank you, Colleen family, for all of that. It was so wonderful. So wonderful. Bringing your joy and your love here. And also bringing a little of New York State here. I say that because I'm from Rochester, New York, upstate, a little bit west of Troy. But so is our next guest from Rochester, New York. So I'm really pleased to present her. So Linda O'Brien Rothe, I hope I'm saying that right. She was a Maryknoll sister with Theresa. And she also worked in Guatemala, as did Blase. And in Theresa's book, Sister Rebel, my favorite scene involves Linda. They were in the novitiate in Westchester County, which those of you who don't know New York State, it's a very upscale, all the rich people live in Westchester County. And they were standing on a balcony on Saturday night overlooking, a country highway, and a little sort of Corvette, a lovely sports car with the top down, went by with a young couple in it. And Theresa says to Linda, "Oh, look at that. I can't believe somehow that it's Saturday night and I'm not out on a date." And Linda looked at her and said, "Well, I don't know about you, but it's not the first Saturday night I've never not been on a date." Which gives you an idea of just how popular and joyful Theresa was all through high school. The two have remained friends ever since exiting Maryknoll, and Linda is not only an expert in indigenous music of Central America and Latin America, she is part of our music group that has met regularly for the last 20 years, and by Theresa's own account, has helped keep her sane. So she's part of the Bluebird Music Group. Welcome, Linda O'Brien Rothe.
Well, that moment on the fourth floor deck, as we called it, was not Theresa's favorite decision. It was not. I was thinking of telling that story, and I thought, I've been asked to come up here and tell what Theresa did before she made her favorite, best decisions, and it wasn't to go into Maryknoll. So from the time she said that, I can't believe I'm here, I'm not out on a date. And by the way, Theresa was young and beautiful, and I was young. And so she was dreaming of all the dates she had, and I wasn't. But that was a statement that she lived for all those years that she was in Maryknoll. This was about September 8th, 1955, that we stood together on the deck. And until the time she left and made that good first decision to leave Maryknoll, she was being formed by a community that had practiced the values that I just heard were part of her family heritage, that her family lived and practiced compassion and charity and justice just out of it was their way of being. But the influence of Maryknoll on Theresa must have been profound, was profound. Maryknoll was founded as an American community, unlike all other communities of women in the United States, except, I believe, the Sisters of Social Service may have beat us by a couple of years. So in around the 20s, a priest at Smith College and a young woman who was a student there wanted to start, and this woman's friends, her name was Mary Rogers, some of her female friends, they wanted to form a group that might do some social justice, some help to people who were in need, and they wanted to do it not just in the local community, but they wanted to do it in what they called the field afar. I can't help chuckling up telling these stories. The field afar at that time was China. China was open now, and they wanted to go and educate the people in China. They wanted to bring Christianity. I have to fight with this story a little bit because I'm in such a different place now about being a missionary than I was then. Excuse me, I'm just going to go on in spite of it. But the ideals were social justice and helping people in need. And Maryknoll has never been a great proselytizer. Maryknoll has been an organization that responded to the local needs, to the needs of the real needs of people, to social justice, to welfare, et cetera. So these young women wanted to form a small group, and they wanted to live together and work with this priest to go to China and bring the good news to China. And Rome said, if you're going to represent the church, you can't do that just as by women living together. You have to wear a habit, you have to take vows, you have to become nuns. And so, unwillingly, they conformed to this. But the habit they chose, those were the 20s, and women were wearing these remember these flapper dresses that have a very straight line and a waist and a belt that's way down here, and a skull cap. That was exactly what our first habit was. Mother Mary Joseph went to a designer in New York City that she knew, a woman she knew, and said, we have to wear a habit. Well, can you design something? And if you knew the Maryknoll habit, even though it has changed, I mean, the waistband's up here now. No, it doesn't exist anymore. They've abandoned it. I'm not a Maryknoll sister anymore, by the way. The waistband is up at a level in it, but those two pleats down the front, this design, that slim design, and the veil was not this veil with all this white stuff around here. It was a skull cap. And in time, you just put it on like this, and in time, it developed a peak like this. I don't know why, but it kind of developed a fold there in the front. These women were courageous, and they went to China and suffered in China and died in China for what they were trying to do with people that an authoritarian government did not like. You went to Chile, I think, a couple of years before I went to Guatemala. Did you go in 63? 64, okay, so I went to Guatemala in 65. So we were both assigned to Latin America. Latin America was characterized, you could characterize it then and maybe even now, by authoritarian governments that oppress and terrorize their people. And to work there in hospitals, in schools, just in the community in any way, it was probable that you were in the focus of the government as one of the bad guys we've got to watch. And everybody suffered. All the Maryknoll people who were in Latin America suffered, were in danger, were persecuted in some way or another. Many people died. When I was in Guatemala, Blase Bonpane came to Guatemala. And Blase worked with university students to teach them, make them aware of the situation, take them out to the villages and the towns in the mountains of Guatemala and open their eyes to what the situation really was in their country and motivate them to act, to be activists in remediating this situation. Blase was involved that way. I was involved in a school that was founded, a high school for girls, that was founded by Marjorie Melville, who she was Sister Mary and Peter at that time. Marjorie Melville, some of you may know the name, and another sister who saw that an opportunity to foment some change in Guatemala by educating the daughters of the very wealthy who owned most of the land. 95% of the land was indigenous, but 45% of it was owned by the wealthy, maybe even more. And so they wanted to educate these young women and wake them up to social justice, to equity, to equality, to diversity, and to all of those values, hoping that when they were mature, they could have some influence on the government, because it was going to be their parents or their uncles or their cousins that were the presidents. And that is what happened in that school. There have been 2 presidents and other mayors of Guatemala City, et cetera, that came through the Maryknoll school. When I was there, I was out in a mountainous village. It was not a village, it was bigger than that, it was a town. And it was probably 14,000 Maya and 500 Ladinos, who were the people who owned the businesses and spoke Spanish. And the things were getting hot. The situation was more difficult all the time to try to practice social justice and not get in trouble with the military and the police and the government. And this is when Blase, who was working with the university students, and Marjorie Melville, who started the Colegio Monte Maria, where I was working, were expelled from the country or had to flee for their lives, because they were planning, how can we remediate the situation? How can we form activist communities that should we cooperate with the guerrillas or should we not, is the big question. There was all this guerrilla movement in the mountains. When I was there, Father William Woods, who was helping the indigenous people who had lost their lands settle in the jungle, cutting down the jungle, claiming the territory for their own, flying back and forth in his little plane to help them to establish this community. When a bomb was put in his plane and he was killed for doing that. 2 years after I came home and I left the convent in '69. I kept working in Guatemala. In '69, 2 years after that, the priest in the town where I was working was murdered in the room that was my room when I was there. It was a very difficult situation. And Maryknoll was there through it all, standing up for justice, suffering through all the tragedies, greater tragedies that Theresa was close to in things that happened in Central America. You probably have read about it in her book. So that day on the deck, even though she didn't want to be there for those years, values of Maryknoll, open-minded, liberal values, really formed her and gave her the courage to do a lot of what she did. So that's really my statement about Maryknoll. I'm not a part of Maryknoll anymore, but I always look back personally as Maryknoll was one of the formative and most important influences in my life. And so Theresa left Chile, came home. I left Guatemala and came home. For a while, I came home. And we had lost touch with each other. But one day I was going to Cal State LA, and I was in the ladies' room, and I came out of the stall, and I walked out, and I walked by somebody. And as I walked by, I stopped. I said, "Was that Theresa?" And I turned around and looked, and she had done the same thing. "Was that Linda?" And she didn't say anything. We just went like this, "Theresa?" Linda, because that's what our habits look like. So, I mean, the rest is history. We've been friends together since that day. I'm so grateful, Theresa, to be here.
Thank you, Linda. That was beautiful. We have Gil Lieb on the piano. First of all, we have Gil Lieb on the piano today. And he's got a song that very much ties in with this theme that Linda has brought to our attention. It's called The Vatican Rag. Thanks for doing that.
Thank you. Okay. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. I wrote this little introduction, and I thought I'd have it memorized, but I don't, so I'm just going to read it to you. Just takes a minute. In the early 60s, Pope John, a liberal pope, the 23rd, convened the Ecumenical Council in Rome to update the church and make it more relevant for our secular time. Among the things they did to make the church more commercial was to introduce the vernacular into portions of the Mass, to replace Latin, and to widen the range of music that could be used. At the same time, a young mathematics student at Harvard University, Tom Lehrer, was gaining popularity for writing some very witty and irreverent songs on topical subjects. He felt that if the church really wanted to sell the product, as it were, they ought to redo some of the liturgical music in popular song form. So, in honor of Theresa's 90th birthday and her past association with the Catholic Church, here's the Vatican Rag. First you get down on your knees, fiddle with your rosaries, bow your head with great respect, and then genuflect, genuflect, genuflect. Do whatever steps you want if you have cleared the will of the pontiff. Everybody say his own Kyrie eleison, doing the Vatican Rag. Processional, step into that small confessional. They're the guy who's got religion'll tell you if your sin's original. If it is, try plain and safer. Drink the wine and chew the wafer. 2, 4, 6, 8. Time to transubstantiate. So get down upon your knees, fiddle with your rosaries, bow your head with great respect, and then genuflect, genuflect, genuflect. Make a cross on your abdomen. When in Rome, do like a Roman. Ave Maria, gee, it's good to see ya. Getting ecstatic and sort of dramatic and doing the Vatican Rag.
Fantastic. My dad would really love that one. I'm very pleased to say that we have a senator here today, a state senator, and it is my pleasure to introduce Maria Elena Durazo. Just a moment. Senator, our next guest is one of the most influential labor leaders in the nation, who, like my mom, began her work with the United Farm Workers and Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. She helped form Unite Here, a big union group, as you know, co-chaired Barack Obama's presidential campaign, served on the Democratic National Committee, and has done work along her late husband, Miguel Contreras, on labor issues across the country. Like my mom, she honors above all the deep friendships formed working side by side for human rights, workers' rights, freedom, and equality, and that is why she's here. Please welcome Senator Maria Elena Durazo. Clean this up a little bit.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. God, I wish I had a talent of singing or dancing or something. Sorry, boring, but I'll do my best. Feliz cumpleaños, hermana Teresa. So wonderful. Thank you for inviting me to your 90th birthday party with you and so many friends and family. It's really great to be with you all. Boy, what a life you have lived. We have a few things in common, hermana. We're kids of immigrants. Yours Irish, mine Mexican. Catholics, of course. Lots of brothers and sisters. And a hard work ethic. That's sort of, really, that's how we were raised, basically. But one of the things that I'm most grateful to you is how you helped me, as Reverend Lawson used to remind me of, connect the dots. Connect the dots in the movements that we have helped to lead. When I decided to be a leader in the labor movement, I didn't think that meant getting arrested downtown LA Federal Building for a civil war in El Salvador or other wars in Central America. But you led the way. You led the way for me to learn how to make a connection. And I'm very grateful to that. You helped me understand that the war in Central America was just as unjust as the war in Vietnam. And that was where Mexicans had gotten drafted and killed in disproportionately greater numbers than others. And so we had the Chicano moratorium. So I had those bits and pieces in my life, but you took it to a whole new level of understanding. And you helped me build not just me, but you helped us build a labor movement in Los Angeles where housekeepers and dishwashers cared as much about the justice in Central America as they did about justice in the hotels. You helped me understand that as a woman, I had as much dignity, duty, and right to speak out against disrespect within the movement with my comrades as I did in the bigger sexist society that we lived in. You helped me understand that. Give me courage for that. You taught me to fight for my children as much as I was fighting for the children of others. You taught me that no matter how many times I doubted myself or didn't know what to do, and that was a lot of times, that I had the inner strength to get through it all. That was you. You have taught me to absorb courage through others, by seeing what others were doing, by being around other people who had enormous courage, sacrificed their lives. And you saw that in Salvadorians and Nicaraguenses and farm workers and others. You saw the courage in them, and you took that, and you made yourself stronger. You taught me that sacrifice in service to others gives us even more courage. You have cared deeply, and you have acted boldly. You have taught me to incorporate music and culture and joy and laughter into our movement so that we don't take ourselves too serious. We're so lucky, I am so lucky to celebrate with you today. Here's to many, many, many more birthdays filled with love of family and friends and movement. Feliz cumpleaños, hermana Teresa. I've been in the Senate for 6 years, and I finally learned that we have the right to raise and lift up leaders and heroes in our movement as much as other people lift up their heroes and leaders. So, on behalf of the California State Senate, happy 95th birthday.
Maria Elena, that was so wonderful. It's great to see you here. I have a great honor now to introduce our next guest. And when I say introduce, okay, if ever there was someone who met the cliche of needing no introduction, especially in a group of people who love waging peace, it is going to be the beloved Jane Fonda. So, the many here who have worked for peace for a long time know that your moral protest of the Vietnam War inspired a generation, and we know that it cost you in many, many ways, and to be able to thank you for that now is a great honor. Also, I want to thank you for, despite that cost, you persisted and you gave us, with your art, brilliant performances in movies that mattered, like Clute, The China Syndrome, Coming Home, 9 to 5, so many. You persisted. And your brilliant activism is now culminated in Jane Fonda Climate PAC, which is taking on the gargantuan fossil fuel industry to save the entire planet. And if you have not yet seen her acceptance speech for the Lifetime Achievement Award that she was just given by the Screen Actors, it is a must-see because it is the most thrilling combination of a call to combine art and activism that I have ever heard. And I am so pleased that you are here with us all to honor the wonderful Theresa Bonpane today. Welcome to the mic, Jane Fonda.
That was beautiful. Thank you. I'm going to get emotional. I am honored to be here. Theresa, it's just beautiful to... I can't sing. Everybody sings in your family. What is this? Oh, my gosh. I am truly honored to be here today, Theresa, to celebrate. I say Theresa. Everybody else says Theresa. I'm going to say it the way I say it. It's an honor to pay tribute to an extraordinary woman. Theresa Bonpane, on occasion of her 90th birthday. Wow. I'm right behind you. And it really matters to me to see a woman who is 90, who is so beautiful, so vibrant, so together, so loving, so healthy. Wow. Does me good. It does my heart good. It is an honor to recognize not only her remarkable journey, but also her impact on she's been an unwavering advocate for peace and justice for, I don't know, as long as I can remember knowing her. Theresa's life is a testament to the power of conviction, resilience, and compassion. From her humble beginnings as a young Irish-American woman in Troy, New York, place I know well, I lived there for 4 years, as you know, to her time as a Maryknoll sister. Thank you for your wonderful stories. serving the poor, she did in Chile. And later, as a devoted wife, mother, and grandmother, she has remained steadfast in her commitment to justice. She has never wavered in her belief that one person can and must make a difference. And I think she knows, as I do, that you can make a better difference when you're not alone, when you're in concert with other people. This is something that we have to really remember right now, because there's going to be a big effort to separate us and to turn us against each other. And so we have to hold Theresa in our heart and remember we have to stay together and be brave. Alongside her late and beloved Blase Bonpane, she directed the Office of the Americas, a beacon for human rights and peace advocacy. Together, they worked tirelessly in the face of great adversity. It was scary, as has been so eloquently described, really scary and dangerous for anybody doing the work that they were doing. And they worked to bring awareness and action to the struggles of the oppressed. A lot of you here are old enough to remember how scary it was. Lives were threatened. But you young people should know that. You had to be really brave to do what Theresa and Blase did. Their efforts weren't just about words, but about meaningful, tangible change. You know, sometimes I think people get involved in progressive causes, or I've known a lot of very rich people, some of them biblically, and a lot of them, I think that they give a lot of money because they want to go to heaven, but they don't really believe that what they're supporting is going to lead to profound change. Theresa and Blase put their efforts out there in the world in ways that they felt were going to actually bring change. And it's not always like that, and I really admire that about you and Blase. But beyond her public work, Theresa's kindness, humility, and relentless hopefulness have inspired all of us who are fortunate to know her. Let me just say something about hope. You know, people talk about optimism, but optimism is everything's going to be fine. But you don't do anything to make it so. Hope is a muscle like the heart. It takes action to feel hope. That's why she's hopeful, because she's an activist. She doesn't just fight for justice, she embodies it, reminding us that the call to create a better world is not just a duty, but a privilege. The embodying of our values is so important. I didn't become an activist until 1970, but what kept me there were the women in the movement who embodied the values. It wasn't the jargon that came at me, it was how those women made me feel. You feel different around Theresa. We all have to be that way. You know, it's like being with her reminds me of what it was like for me to be with those women when I was a very inexperienced activist. It was like looking through a keyhole at the world that we're fighting for. That's Theresa. Let's all try to be that way, inspired by her. Thank you. At a time when the need for peace and justice is more urgent than ever, Theresa continues to be a guiding light, reminding us that change begins with the courage of individuals willing to take a stand. Not alone, but in concert with others. She challenges us not just to admire her work, but to join her. Don't just say, how great, thank you, but no, join. So today we not only celebrate a milestone birthday, but a lifetime of purpose, passion, and unwavering dedication. Theresa, your legacy is one of love, justice, and hope. On behalf of all of us, thank you for showing us what it truly means to live a life of service. And happy birthday, dearest Theresa. Thank you.
Well, the perfect person to follow a hard act to follow is an activist whose influence in our community has been as long, as persistent, and profound as Jane's. And I'm going to introduce now Frank Dorell, who is going to speak from the floor. Frank has had an amazing career as an activist. As a veteran, he is a veteran for peace, and he helped establish Arlington West, that field of white crosses that used to be every weekend on the beach in Santa Monica, and that remains to this day in history the only memorial to the dead of Iraq and Afghanistan. That was Frank and the Veterans for Peace. He has also published and distributed across the nation a comic book, a graphic novel, if you will, called Addicted to War, that tells the story of war for profit and war profiteering in the United States for over a century. And it is in thousands of high schools across the nation because of Frank Dorell. We owe him a great debt of thanks, and he's here to honor Theresa, our dear friend, Frank Dorell. And you're gonna get a microphone right now, Frank, so that you can speak. He's speaking from audience right down here in the front, so take a listen.
Thank you, Mimi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Before I read some tributes to you, Theresa, from some other people who couldn't be here today, I've got to say, wow, to Jane Fonda. Whoa, so what? I respect that woman so much and love her. So, Theresa, I have some little statements from people who couldn't be here. 3 of them are on the East Coast. And the first one is from Barbara Trent, Academy Award-winning director, your friend. It says, Dear Theresa, I am forever grateful for your faith in me, David Casper, and the Empowerment Project. Because of you and Blase, we were able to produce films such as Destination Nicaragua, Cover Up Behind the Encanto Fair, and The Panel of Deception, which won the Academy Award for Best Documentary in 1992. We have gone on to help other filmmakers and activists as you have helped us to do. Your faith in people and your grace are the attributes I still strive to emulate. Blessings on your birthday and every day with my love, Barbara Trent. She's back in North Carolina. This next one is from a fellow Maryknoll priest, Father Roy Bourgeois, who I met through you and Blase. And by the way, Roy was a Maryknoll priest for 45 years until he was excommunicated, not because he protested his school in the Americas or protested U.S. foreign policy. He was excommunicated from the Catholic Church because he supported women to become priests. And Roy says, dear Theresa, many thanks to you, Blase, and the Office of America for all you have done to make the world a better place. Knowing the two of you has been a total blessing in my life. Thank you for honoring me while I was in prison for protesting the School of the Americas, also known as the School of Assassins. I wish I could have been here with you today to celebrate your 90th birthday. Best to you always. Peace and love, Roy Bourgeois. The next tribute is also from somebody back in North Carolina who you know very well, Ann and Cole Miller. Happy 90th birthday, dear Theresa. Working with you and knowing you and Blase has been one of the most special things to have ever happened to us. Thank you for honoring and supporting our organization, No More Victims. No More Victims has brought at least 10 war-injured Iraqi children to this country for surgeries. And remember when Blase married us in Frank and Jane's backyard. All our love, Ann and Cole Miller. And this last one is from somebody who is right here in the Valley, but he's bedridden, from our friend, singer-songwriter, songfighter, Ross Altman. Happy birthday, Theresa. I always enjoyed singing at the Office of Americans events hosted by you and Blase. I want to mention that today is International Women's Day, and you are an international woman for peace and justice. I hope that you, Reverend Janet and Frank, will come and visit me again soon. Although I am bedridden, I am doing very well. Peace and love, singer-songfighter, Ross Altman. And Theresa, this last one is from me. And I am honored to be here, and I'm so happy to be friends with you and with Blase. And everybody here, all the family and friends too. Happy, happy birthday, dear Theresa. Knowing you and Blase has been one of the most important and special things that has happened to me in my life. You are such a special, caring, and loving human being. I always said that you, Blase, and the Office of Americas were the heart and soul of the anti-war peace and justice movement in this area and all across the country. Being friends with you has been such a wonderful part of my life. Jane, my wife Jane, Emily, and I always enjoyed spending time with you and Blase. And I want to say that my mom, Mita, who loves you too, is here today. She's in the back, and she will be 98 April 18th. She's here with my brother Jeffrey and Emily and her fiance Gavin, and we enjoy having lunches with you. And I'm going to close in loving memory of Blase, of my wife Jane Dorell, Don White, Reverend James Lawson, Ed Asner, Harrison Agnos, and so many other people that we've known through you, Theresa. God bless you, Theresa Bonpane.
Okay, you've seen a lot of me recently, but Blase will be back to the microphone because I get to introduce the next person. He was a fabulous teacher at Oakwood School here in Los Angeles for almost 40 years. He is a wonderful singer and leader of song and member of our Bluebirds musical group, and he is the only man in the room that I've ever slept with. My husband, Larry Dilge.
Thank you for that introduction, Mary. Theresa asked me to sing this song. Theresa and I have been singing together for about 40 years or so. And I wrote a song for a birthday of Blase's a couple years back. And the song is called Good Bread. I looked at the name Bonpane, and I tried to figure out where it comes from. And I thought Bon means good. Pain, after I passed on the suffering, I realized it's bread, pane. So I thought, well, Blase was a bringer of bread as a priest and a bringer of the kind of bread of life that we all live on. And so I wrote this song. It's kind of a biography of him. It's kind of a biography of Theresa because she joins the story fairly early, and it's a lot about what we all share and believe. It has a sing-along component on the chorus. There are two places where I'd like you to echo me. So first I go, good bread, and I want you to just answer, good bread. And then I go, that's what he gave us, and I stay doing it, good bread. And what he said, then I quote a line that Blase wrote or said, and then I get to the end and I go, he gave us some of that good, good bread, and you answer or echo, he gave us some of that good, good bread. You'll get the idea what we do. A good bread, that's what he gave us, good bread. And what he said, This is Blase Bonpane for World Focus. He gave us some of that good, good bread, He gave us some of that good, good bread. Born a Catholic, he heard the call to serve the church and the state. After some time in the U.S. Marines, he realized it wasn't too late to alter his course and dedicate himself to the Prince of Peace. Seminary, ordination, the Maryknolls made him a priest. Good bread, that's what he gave us, good bread. And when he said, peacekeeping is never, do this in remembrance of me. He gave us some of that good, good bread, He gave us some of that good, good bread. From Happy Jack to Way to Nango, liberation was a cool breeze. He said, he spoke the language of the congregation and accompanied the least of these. And like Jesus in the temple, he turned the table on hypocrisy. For he broke the silence about the compliance of the church with the military. Good bread, that's what he gave us, good bread. And when he said, peacekeeping is never passive, he gave us some of that good, good bread. He gave us some of that good, good bread. He took off his collar, he picked up his cross, a gorilla of peace, banishing love with banishing dark. Wait, what? Peace. I can't remember the words. Right, banishing darkness with blazing truth and brotherly love till he met Theresa, Colleen, an ex-Knoll and a Maryknoll. Oh my God, an ex-nun and a Maryknoll. They shared politics and then a bed. Now I don't know about the order of things, but pretty soon the two were wed. Good bread, that's what he gave us, good bread. And when he said, for richer, for poorer, to love and to cherish, he gave us some of that good, good bread. He gave us some of that good, good bread. Demonstrating and getting arrested, speaking truth on KPFK, preaching, writing, and organizing, chanting, and starting OOA, confronting Wally George on TV. Oh my God, I'm terrible here. Confronting Wally George on TV, overturning tables and walking away, calling us all to resist the war from Vietnam right down to today. Good bread, that's what he gave us, good bread. And when he said, we need a moral revolution, he gave us some of that good, good bread. A man of honor like his father before him, the gifts he got, he gave back in turn to his children, Colleen and Blase Martin, in whose lives we can discern the wisdom of their grandfather, the joy and courage of Theresa and Blase, the hope and the faith that sustain us in darkness, and the stuff that we're here to praise. Good bread, that's what they gave us, good bread. And when she said, don't mourn, organize, they gave us some of that good, good bread. I said, they gave us some of that good, good bread. Thank you. Theresa.
I promise Blase will be back. This is just how it worked out. I have a tribute before I introduce our next guest. And this was so lovely, I had to read it. Cam French, Cornelia French, was a young unwed mother with a 5-month-old child who had nowhere else to go when Theresa and Terry Grace, a Christian brother who had also left his vows, had organized something called Alhambra House. A lot of nods, a halfway house for ex-priests and nuns who were transitioning into the outer world. So Cam had nowhere else to go, and though she didn't qualify as an ex-clergy, of course they took her in. So this is only part of what she wrote. Awakening does not come all at once, but in small, unexpected moments. In you, Theresa, my teacher appeared. You introduced me to critical thinking. Through your vast knowledge, I began to challenge core beliefs that were leftovers from Catholic indoctrination. You presented me with Anais Nin's diaries, Eldridge Cleaver's Soul on Ice, Marshall McLuhan's The Medium is the Message, and Dr. Harvey Cox's The Secular City. The profound spiritual intellectual Alan Watts opened diverse avenues of thought. I held no fundamental views regarding our national and global policies. You, Theresa, became not only my friend, but also a mentor. Our discussions frequently centered around the insidious indoctrination of racism, the misogynies rampant in all parts of women's lives, but especially about the hunger and poverty of people worldwide. You've always been dedicated to exploring and finding solutions to these problems. With your marriage to Blase and the creation of Office of the Americas together, you educated the world. More importantly, you loved my son, Sean, and you loved me, and your love allowed me to love myself. And now, for someone that I know, anytime you have gone on a march, you have seen him with a bullhorn and a very bright vest. He has been the executive director emeritus of the National Lawyers Guild of Los Angeles. He is now. He hosted the excellent Lawyers Guild show on KPFK for over a decade, and he is always a visible presence in Los Angeles protests and marches. He's been an anti-war activist longer than some of us have been alive, and he shared workspace with Office of the Americas when they operated out of that hive of good work, the Peace Center. Peace is still possible because of people like Jim Lafferty. Welcome to the microphone, Jim. Welcome.
Thank you. That was very sweet.
Of course.
Thank you. My goodness, what a wonderful group of folks. 90 years, my goodness. I've known a lot of people in the anti-war social justice movement in this country. It's been my pleasure to know and work with them. And they come and go sometimes. You could count on a few hands the number of people who stick with it as long as Theresa Bonpane has. Because she called me, she continues to call me and ask me about something that she needs. Does she know where she can get X, Y, and Z, because she's working with an immigrant rights group and they need to know what to do if ICE comes around and what can we do at the Lawyers Guild. I mean, so she's as active today as the day I met her 30-some years ago. And I knew of Theresa and Blase Bonpane long before I met them. I mean, I grew up in Detroit. I lived in New York for a number of years. I was active in national movements. And we'd hear about Blase and Theresa Bonpane all over the country. I wondered who these people were, It must be really something, I don't know, up on a high hill somewhere. And then I came to Los Angeles, needed some office space, wanted to be in the Peace Center of Harrison Agnos, where he gave you free rent. That's where we wanted to be. And I thought, well, I don't know what to do. And I think it was maybe Eris that said, well, maybe you could talk to the Office of the Americas folks. They've got a fair amount of space. Maybe they'd give you some space. Well, all they had was 2 offices, one for Blase and one for Theresa in a little conference room. So I went in all, kind of afraid to ask for anything. I got about halfway through it. They knew what was on my mind. They said, why don't you have our office? And I tell that simply because that's so true of what they did and what they've done in my presence for the last 30-some years. In fact, I know when I got active with the Office of the Americas, it was often very important to me to remember to tell them to stop giving all their money away to other groups. No, I mean, this is no joke, because the Office of the Americas would be running short of funds, and yet I just realized they just granted a grant of $1,000 or $5,000 to some other group that was struggling. That kind of ecumenicalism. And by the way, the political ecumenicalism that went with it is probably even more valuable than the money, because I don't have to tell folks in this room that whether it's a peace movement or a social justice movement, there's often not a lot of peace in those movements. There's a lot of tension between the various groups of the movement. Egos get in the way sometimes, and sectarianism gets in the way sometimes. And I have never, and I've worked literally feet from Theresa Bonpane for years and years and years, and I've never heard a sectarian word. I've never heard a word, the disparagement of some other group. I've always found that her and Blase willing, if they didn't even agree necessarily with the group, to applaud what they had done. I've seen them give recognition to groups that did something, frankly, based on the work that they had already done and weren't getting credit for. No mind. Theresa was happy always to do that. Speaking of money, by the way, I don't want to forget, we're in this wonderful facility here today. And I don't know how many of you know this, but that roof wasn't like that. How long ago, how long has it been, Janet, since?
A year and a half
It's been in for about a year and a half. And you don't want to know what it cost. I mean, the amount of money that it cost. So what Theresa has asked for, not for money for any group that she's involved with directly, no Office of the America kind of contributions are needed. But we would sure appreciate it, those of you who came, if you would write a check or for the church in Ocean Park. That's where she has asked that the money go, the church in Ocean Park. And those of you that don't, maybe are just becoming familiar with this church, it is day in and day out, week in and week out, a place of celebration, a place of organization, a place of agitation. It is what a church should be, and frankly, there aren't that many of them. So you want to make sure you dig into your wallets and dig into your checkbooks before you leave here today. I could go on and on, but I promised I wouldn't. In fact, I'm supposed to be keeping track of others if they go on too long, so I can't do that. Let me just end by saying that in all of those years, and all of the times that we have been through, I think, Theresa, you would agree with me if I say we have not been in a period in our history, in this country, in our lifetime, and I'm almost as old as Theresa is, that has been as difficult, has been as challenging, has been as frightening, has been as awful, has been as evil as the moment we find ourselves in politically now. Now is that time. And that's why we need people like Theresa Bonpane to continue to carry the torch, because she does carry that torch. And as long as she's carrying that torch, and we expect you to be around for a long time, because this is a long fight we're into now, my dear. You know that this is a long fight we're into, so you're gonna have to stick around, maybe longer than you had planned, but you're gonna have to stick around for a long time. So I thank you for being who you are. I thank you for what you've done for me personally and what I've learned from being at your side for all these years. Thank you, Theresa Bonpane. I'm sorry, is Jim Kahn? Is Jim Kahn here? I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Did Jim want to come up and say something? No. Just recognize you were here.
Can I just say a word?
Sure.
I've known Theresa and Blase since 1968. That's a long time. She doesn't quit.
Nope.
Thanks, Jim, and thanks, Jim. We're coming close to the end of the program, but we can't get there without Brother Tom English. Tom English is a member of the Bluebird music group, me too, also known as the OOA Singers, that met for music and conversation with my mom and dad and some other musical friends for over 20 years. When he was drafted during the Vietnam War, he convinced his commanders to let him out when he realized he could not and would not kill anyone. A talented painter as well as a songwriter, he's here to sing a song he wrote for my parents and sang regularly when the music group met. Tom English.
Oh, it's just such a joy to be here, Theresa. And I am so honored and thrilled that you want me to sing this because, as you know, I wrote it for you, God, a long time ago now. But I wanted to say that it was inspired by how I heard maybe the better part of 20 years ago that you and Blase met at was it the first meeting of the Black Panthers? Yes. Yeah, one of the very first. And of course I know your histories, and I, of course, am an adult child of Catholics myself. And I just wanted to tell you how much it affected me that the two of you transcended everything. You know, you went with what is best in the church, and you just were able to let go of what wasn't, and find each other and create the world you created. And I was having a conversation with Blase one night about time, and how time. How should I put this? It's always full of beginnings. Time is always full of beginnings. No matter where you are at the point in your story, the potential's always there. So anyway, I'm rambling. Seconds turn to moments, and the moments turn to hours. But it's always now. Seasons whirl around us. Every season has its powers. But I love you always now. Injustice is to be made right 24/7, day and night the world cries, while an absent-minded song in my soul begins to sway, and every sorrow slips away. And only love is strong here and now. Each atom whirls in place here and now. Your touch, your face, breathing through some piece of news that wanders through a rolled-down window, weaving light into a wider song. We touch with the song of life, granted words like man and wife, and leave the words where words belong. We have the power to summon forth new life from the swirling froth of galaxies with simple human touch. Together, we together now. Somehow the power flows, grows here and now. Feel the warmth flow in here and now. We begin.
Oh my God, this has been quite a day. I'm amazed that you've been. First, I'm just looking out and see all the beautiful faces and the beautiful memories of so many here. This is really like 90 years of history right here today, it seems. It's just wonderful to have all of you here. And I want you to know that this is the first time that I've ever been part of organizing, not that I was organizing the event, but anytime we ever wanted to get a group together, the first thing I would do was go to Frank Dorell, who has a mailing group of possibly 5,000 people, for all I know. And we always would go to Frank first and say, put out a blast, we're having this meeting, you gotta get everybody there. And we would get everybody who had mailing lists and say, let's get all these people together. This time, the first time in our history, I said, Frank, you can't send out one single invitation. This is going to be by personal invitation only. And so all of you here are my really best friends because that's why you got invited. I want you to know that. So thank you again. I want to take a moment to remind us, too, that today is International Women's Day. And if you want to get out to a rally or donate, this is the day to do that. But I'd like to talk about something else as well. And I might have to resort to because I know what I want to say, but I hope I don't forget anything. So I want to start by telling you about my grandson, who is Blase the Fourth. And Blase the Fourth is sitting over there next to his sisters, and Mimi is looking at him. And I just wanted to tell you, I don't want to embarrass Blase the Fourth, but several years ago, we were at a family gathering, and adults were all talking about the world and what's going on and what we're going to be doing. And I thought Blase was just playing chess or something like he often is. I didn't know he was paying so much attention. But when we finished with our discussions, he said this: compassion is empathy in action. Can you believe that? An 8-year-old kid? Compassion. I can't think of anything more profound. That's exactly what we're talking about today and every day, certainly in our personal lives and in our political lives. Compassion is empathy in action. And I always, every time I talk with him on the phone, I say, Blase, did I get it right? Do I start with energy, action? Which part? He tells me every time, no, Nana, it's this way. So I finally got it down. Anyway, I was blown away. I couldn't believe how profound it was. He was listening to all of us, just going on and on, and this was his immediate response. It stayed with me, and I would like to say that at this time, with all the troubles that are going on, not only in our country, and I agree with what Jim said, that in my 90 years, and most of those of activists, I have never been more fearful for our country than I am today. And I don't say that with it in a depressive way or whatever. I just think the reality is that we are really in trouble. And if ever we want to try to do anything, this is the time to do it. And we really need compassion right now in action. So while many of us are feeling so overwhelmed, and some people are feeling helpless and hopeless and distraught about what possibly can each of us individuals do about it to make it things better, and also to relieve those who will be suffering the most, this quote came back to me. And remember, those who are suffering the most, the people who are already suffering the most are now going to suffer possibly triple what they're already suffering. So no matter how distraught we are about what is going on and wondering what we can do, I think that the one thing we can all do is just say that every day, no matter what our resources are in regard to our energy, our time, our money, all of us can do something, however small. It might even be just being kind to all the people around us. All the people around us, a smile, a nudge, whatever, any kind of kindness. When I walked uptown with my father, he had a fedora, and everybody we passed, he just kind of turned. And it was the kind of thing I do when I walk with my dog, Marty. I stop and we say hello to all the other dogs and the people. Just little acts of kindness and brightness to bring to people. So when people are suffering so much unkindness right now, that kindness is really the greatest gift that we can do for everyone. It may be going also to your house of worship or other local organizations who are helping the homeless now and have been helping the immigrants already. But now they're going to need more help than ever themselves to be able to reach out to all those who are going to need it. So I have been very fortunate to have Reverend Janet McKeithen, who is here with us tonight, and the church in Ocean Park, because it makes it, Janet has done so much, by the way, to make this day possible. This church, which we are using for free, and usually, they can try to get a few dollars. This church, everything about the church has been given to us for today, including many of their volunteers, besides everything else. So I want to thank the church in Ocean Park for that. And my own resources are limited, and I'm able to come to the church in Ocean Park with like-minded people and participate in some of the actions which are taking place here. I also contribute to them so that they can carry on the work. When I'm not around, they can still do all the work that they do 24/7. So those are some of the ways that I have been able to, at age 90, that I can still be active because I've got a community to be active with. And that's what Jane referred to that as well, that we have to act in community to really keep ourselves going as well. So I hope that's something that we will all take with us. So along with that, I would like to introduce you. Forgive me if I look down every now and then, but usually my memory is not quite as good. So I would also like to introduce you to my family. And you've seen a lot of them here tonight. I think there's at least 40 people. But a couple of years ago, we counted how many Killeens there were all together everywhere. And I think we were up to about 150 at that time. And now I'll tell you how all that came about, as if you didn't already know. I never spoke about my family in speeches, but this is a special day. Winifred Walsh and Martin Killeen, my parents, were both born in Ireland and came to the United States in the early 1920s. They met here, they were married here, and they raised a family here. Their naturalization papers listed them as farmers, which today we call farm workers, interestingly enough. As such, they never had education beyond the 6th grade. That was as much as the lower income groups got. So, nor were they trained in other skills. At the time that my parents came here, they had a very hard time getting jobs. There were signs in all the stores and businesses that said, "Irish need not apply here." and that was every place. The rampant discrimination against the Irish, who were stereotyped at that time as lazy and alcoholics. My parents didn't fit into either of those categories, but they were Irish. My father eventually got jobs here and there, and my mother often worked as a domestic worker, and they got by. They had their own apartment, and my father often told a story when my mother would go out about doing her things in the streets and see all the homeless people in the streets, and many of them were Irish immigrants. She would go to them and tell them, we have an apartment, and we don't have any extra beds, but we have chairs and a couch, and we have floor space. At least you would have a roof over your head. Come home with me. And she would bring them home. And my father said, I'd get up in the morning and I never knew how many people were going to be all over the house. And that is the DNA that I inherited and that I'm proudest to have in my life, is that's exactly, I was brought up with that kind of kindness and compassion. Back to that thing, compassion is whatever it is in action. I already forgot, Blase, for the rest of how I said that, but you know what I mean. That's what it is. It's that you feel something for somebody. You see poverty and sadness and whatever, and you say, oh my God, that's such a shame, but you go on and whatever. But if you stop and act on it, that's when you're really making a change. Even sometimes it is just a smile and just something to show people, I recognize you, you're a human being like I am. So my mother continued to do that for years, and that was the way she helped the homeless. My grandchildren, who are here today, some of them, have noticed that when we go out walking and going to places, that I usually stop. I think maybe I'll get some recognition from my grandchildren that have noticed this. We would stop, and when I saw the homeless, I always try to stop and give them a word of encouragement and or a small donation. Thanks, Mom. That's what my mother gave me. That's the gift of my life and was the biggest gift that I received from my parents, the gift of kindness. And so when I do see homeless people, I really do, at the very least, you can smile, you can nod, you can just say, you know, some way to show them that I respect you, because so much of the world criminalizes them and they say, oh, they're dirt, they're nothing. And you can just nod, just let them know they are human beings and that you love and respect them. No matter how frugal our lives were when I was growing up, we did not feel like a poor family because we were filled with kindness. I hardly remember either of my parents acting unkindly. And that's what lives with me today. And that's what keeps me going and what helps me to be aware of what other people are going through as well. Then, being good Irish Catholics, my parents had as many children as God would grant them. And you know what that means. That's where we came up to now. I think we're at 150 from Martin and Winnie at this point. So God sent them. I was the 8th of the family. My 7 sisters and brothers are all deceased now, so now I am the matriarch. And so many of my children and grandchildren are here today, and like it or not, I am your matriarch, folks. When my father died at age 92, after his memorial, we found his little black box where he kept all of our baptismal documents, birth certificates, etc., and a few dollars that he kept saved here and there over the years. But it also contained a handwritten note which said, "Dear children, when you'll see this, you'll know that I am gone. What I want you to do is look over the house, take everything you can use, give the rest to the poor, and then share among yourselves all that is there. But remember, give it to them that need it the worst." I love that line, give it to them that need it the worst. And that's how my parents lived. And their English and grammar wasn't up to par, but their compassion was overboard in every way. I love that last line because it was exactly how he lived, and we all knew exactly who and what he meant at that time. that was the family that I came from, and the family that I feel so grateful for, that it is the greatest gift that I could have wanted, and that has stayed with me forever. Now, most of you know the outline of my life, and some of you have read my book, so you know all the gory details that are in that book as well. So I'm not going to go into any of that. The outline is I entered the convent. I left after 12 years from Chile in 1967, met my beloved Blase in 1969, married in 1970, and had 2 wonderful children, Colleen and Blase Martin. 2 wonderful children. And they will tell their own stories, and I'm sure they'll have some good ones. Now I have 6 amazing grandchildren, most of whom are here today as well. So thanks so much to my wonderful daughter and my son Blase and Colleen, and all of my grandchildren who are here tonight. I also want to bring attention to the people who brought this group together tonight. The names of all the committee members are at the bottom of your booklet. And I do want to say a special thanks to Colleen and Blase and Suzanne, who worked with our wonderful committee to make all of this happen. And thank you so much. Thank you. So I thank you again, and I thank Ann Miller, who isn't here with us tonight, but sent a recording earlier. And Ann is the one who, those of you who know me, I think I'm the comedy of the community with my typing. And it's impossible. It's really ridiculous how, and I'm sure they all smile and laugh. Oh my God, here it comes again. But anyway, my typing, I taught typing when I was in Chile, and all of my students passed, and I knew the keyboard, A, S, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, semicolon, I know it all, but my fingers just won't go those places anymore. And one part of it is in caps, and then it goes to small case and all that. But anyway, so Ann Miller, anything that I have to write, Ann Miller is the one who fixes it up for me so that I at least look literate after all of that. So I'm grateful to Mimi and Colleen also for the incredible display of photographs all over here. The collages that you see Colleen has done for years at our, maybe our 70th birthday, and then our 80th birthdays, and our 90th birthdays. And Colleen has done all these collages. Then she and Mimi gathered a bunch of other pictures that are all over. And I think I heard somebody say that you're giving them as favors. Did you ask permission for that? I know. I'm only kidding. Mimi, that is Mimi's gift, all the ones that are in frame. So that is a beautiful gift. Thank you. So I'm so grateful for all of that display, and you have my heartfelt gratitude. So thank you again. Above all, I love having you here today, and I hope all the memories that I have of so many of you keep me going all the time. And I do get my energy from just the love that surrounds me all the time. And I feel lucky when that story that Colleen told of when I gave blood in Chile, and that parent also said to me, Madre, don't give your blood to Chileans anymore. Because they were so energetic after that. So that was the olden days. So I'm just going to thank you all again now, and I hope to see you after this is over, which is just about all there. But I want to get a chance to talk with some of you and visit with you in a few minutes. But before that, like to ask you to stay a few minutes, because Blase Martin is going to come back up, and we're going to do a little sing-along of the song, Last Night I Had the Strangest Dream. And this is a song that his father sang at the end of all the meetings that we ever had, and we hope that all of you who know it will sing along with us. Thank you again and again. I love you, and I thank you so much for being here.
Stay up and sing it with me.
Okay. I'm going to sing it with him, even though the music group doesn't like my voice.
But this is a shortened version of it, so we're not going to sing it all.
Okay, you sing whatever you're going to do.
Last night I had the strangest dream I ever had before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. The people in the streets below were dancing round and round, and guns and swords and uniforms were scattered on the ground. Last night I had the strangest dream I ever had before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. All right. And there's one more song. Hey, Danahy from the East Coast. Can you come up and sing Irish Eyes with us?
He also is great at singing Danny Boy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
You probably know better.
Okay.
You start it.
Everybody's got to join in, though. When
Irish eyes are smiling, sure it's like a morning spring. In the lilt of Irish laughter, you can hear the angels sing. When Irish hearts are happy, all the world seems bright and gay. And when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they'll steal your heart away.
We're gonna do Danny Boy another time.
The last song is good old-fashioned Happy Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Theresa. Happy birthday to you.
This is my birthday cake. This is a New Deal birthday cake. This is a New Deal birthday cake. Instead of trying to get 100 pieces of cake out, we decided to go the cupcake route, and this is what we have. So I'm going to make a wish, and did you want to say something, Mimi? Oh, yeah, we've got cupcakes for everybody, but I got a special one because I'm special today. So I'm going to make my wish now.
I better wish is world peace.
Of course, my wish is world peace. And actually, truly, my wish is that every one of us will do something to help the homeless and the immigrants and all the people who are already suffering more and more and more every day. That is my wish, and I know I share that with all of you. Here's my wish.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Stick around, we're here.
That might be Blaze's kid. Are they your glasses? They belong to her, not mine. I wondered why I left that. For now, yeah. There are cakes everywhere over here.
mind speaking for the board? Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Would you rather sit? Because I can bring a microphone.
Yeah.
That's easier.
Dirty. Oh, dirty.
That's all right. I can't find the lyrics anyway. I take a picture. Another show too. Okay. I could have danced all night. How about Oklahoma? What a beautiful morning. I just did that. So what are you doing? No, I just
Right, Dorell. I'm out of here.
Oh yeah, I heard about